Today, I am telling you about one of my favorite things that I have started doing in my photography over the last little while, and that is shooting in film. I have absolutely loved shooting in film, and I want to tell you the reasons why I started shooting in film and why you should too. I think everyone, if you're a photographer and you love photography, you should at some point just dabble in a little bit of film photography. So I'm going to tell you the reasons why you should do that, and I'm also going to show you a roll of film that I got back recently and kind of walk you through all the reasons why it feels like Christmas every time I get one back. So about 2 or 3 years ago, I really felt like there was something missing in my photography. It felt like something was missing, and the thing that was missing was shooting in film. I have wanted to shoot in film for years, but never really got around to it. I think one of the big reasons was just like, it's just expensive, and isn't it just like, I don't know, it's just like expensive, and isn't it the same as just like shooting something in digital, but you have to pay to get it developed? Like, it doesn't seem like, I kind of understood the nostalgia of it, and I'm guessing maybe the colors seemed good, but I didn't really see many benefits to it. And so for a long time, I just couldn't be bothered trying it. It seemed like a lot of headache and a lot of expense that I just didn't really feel like trying. But when I started shooting it, I couldn't believe how much it's impacted my photography. And I've only been shooting it kind of intensely for about the last 2 years. One of the first things that I noticed when I started shooting in film is that price tag. That price tag thing came back to me the first few frames that I was shooting, I realized how expensive each frame was. And that did something to my photography. So before, when I didn't want to shoot film, or I thought it was like a waste of time or whatever, I didn't know what it was. So before I started shooting film, I just saw the price tag and it kind of turned me off. But now, when I first started shooting film, I realized that the price tag was actually one of the most beneficial things that film can do for you. And that is, it forces you to think about every time you click that shutter. So every time I was like taking a picture, I was like, whoa, this is like $1.20 for every photo. Like, this better be a good photo. Like, I don't want to screw this one up. And so I realized that as I was taking each shot, I was thinking so much about the photo, because you don't want to waste frames. You don't want to just like throw money out the window. You want to make sure that every photo you take is going to be impactful, is the right photo you want. Something that was kind of interesting was like, someone be like, take a photo of this. And when I'm shooting on film, I'm like, no, unless you want to pay for this, I'm going to take the photos that I want to take. So you just leave me alone. You take your own photos. I'm going to take my own photos over here. Okay. So that price tag thing really just helped me focus on the photos that I wanted to take. And it just made me think before I hit that shutter. And then another thing on top of that is when you're actually taking the photo, I noticed that for the first time, maybe in a long time, I was inspecting the entire frame before I hit the shutter button. I don't know about you, but when you're shooting, sometimes you just look inside, you're like, okay, it's fine. And then you're just like, bah, 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 just like firing off frames. When you shoot in film, you like pull that thing up to you, and then you are inspecting everything, right? You're like, okay, what does the background look like? Okay, all right, okay, the composition looks good. Okay, now what does their face look like? Okay, I need to have the perfect like expression, like all this stuff. So I found that I started really inspecting with detail the entire frame from corner to corner in every section before I even hit the shutter button, which is crazy, which is so different than if you're used to shooting digital. It's completely different than that. When you shoot digital, you're almost like half of your effort is not only in the camera, but afterwards, like looking through the photos later to find that perfect moment, as opposed to finding the perfect moment in the camera. Another thing that shooting in film does is that it makes you care so much about your settings. I think this is another thing that why a lot of people get turned off, and why you might be turned off from shooting in film is that the settings need to be like on. Like you can't like shoot and then like see what happens afterwards, which is kind of the fun and the excitement of film, is that you don't know how it's turned out until you get the photos back, which was a very big change for me when I started shooting film. Was like I can't see the photos immediately. Like I have to wait a few weeks until I see what the photo looked like. So the thing it really pushed me to do was get my settings right the first time. I don't know about you, but I know when I'm shooting digital, it's really easy to be lazy and just be like, okay, I'm gonna like snaps a photo. Oh yeah. All my settings are like completely wrong. Instead of taking the time to be like, okay, let's get these settings down first before I take any photo. Like let's get the settings right and then take the photo, instead of just like shooting and being like, oh yeah, let me figure out why all these settings are wrong. It really pushes you to learn all of your settings, and that's gonna make you, and that's made me a better photographer by having to really not get lazy about all those settings. And then part of that settings deal, it made me slow down and just think. I think this has been one of the most exciting things for me about shooting in film, is the change of pace that it's forced me to do. I think with digital, it's so easy. Like we are in such like a fast-paced world. We want to like shoot it, get it onto our computer, and get it onto Instagram within an hour. And the crazy thing about film is like that's just not possible. Like unless you have a dark room, even then, like you're not getting something out within an hour. It takes time, and that's the amazing thing about shooting in film, is that time, the time it takes just to like think of your settings, like look around. Okay, where, like what area do I want to take my photo in? Not just like, I'm going to take the photos of everything. Like it's digital. It doesn't matter. We can shoot like every single like section. The difference with film is that you have to choose. It forces you to slow down, and it forces you to choose. Like I can't take all of these scenes. I can't take every photo. I have to choose which photo I want to take. And that makes you a better creative, and it's made me a better creative and a photographer, and it's forced me to just exercise my choosing muscles, and I've been really happy with all those results. Okay, and then I think the last thing that has made me really excited about shooting in film is the tangible like aspect of it. I love like holding a piece of film in my hand. I love loading the film. I love wrapping up the film, putting it in a box, and shipping it to my lab. I love getting my film back. I love looking through these scans that have been sent to me from a lab. I love printing out my film. I love the tangible step that gets put into your workflow. Unless you really push yourself to print your work, you never hold your work. And I think that's a really sad part of photography, of digital photography, is that often we never even get to hold it. We're always seeing our work like on a screen or like on Instagram or wherever it is, but we never get to like hold it. And I think the amazing thing about photography, I think the amazing thing about shooting in film is that you get to hold it. Like you take a photo of like your loved one. You get to take a photo of this incredible canyon you were in, and then you get to roll it up and you get to hold it in your hand. And I think that's incredible. I think being able to hold photography in your hand is amazing. And like I mentioned before, when you get those scans back, so how it works is like I'll send a roll of film to my lab, and then they do all the magic in the Lightroom, and then they actually scan the negatives. And then they'll send me a digital version that I can edit, send to my clients, whatever. That process is amazing. Like the process of getting the email after waiting like 2 weeks that says your film scans are ready, you can download them, blah 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 blah. That is so exciting, and I want to share that excitement with you. So hope you had a nice Christmas. By the way, I got my scans a couple days before Christmas, and it felt like one of the best presents I've got. Like, and I get to do this all the time. Like, getting scans back is so exciting for me because I did this shoot a couple weeks ago, and then I finally get to see what happens. So I want to share with you a little bit of that excitement. I'm going to share with you one of the rolls that I got back. I just shot a roll for fun when Allie and I went to get a Christmas tree, and I want to share all 16 images with you. So the film that I've been using is called Portra 400 120, and that only has 16 frames on a roll. So I want to take you onto the computer, and I want to show you each of those 16 frames and kind of just like walk you through what I loved about the photos and what was exciting, what was disappointing, and kind of give you a little taste about what that process is like to shoot film and why you should do it. You should do it. I'm serious. Come on. You know you've been wanting to. You just need to go. You just need to go. Just get the camera out of your dad's camera, or get it out of the closet or the storage. You just get it. Just get one roll and try it. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Okay, and so here are the 16 photos that I took. It was cold as the dickens that night, so I was only able to really get 16 photos. I only had one roll, and I didn't want to. I actually had a few rolls, but I didn't want to shoot anymore because one, it got way too dark, and two, my fingers were dying. Okay, so let's go through them. Here was one of the first photos that I took. I think, like I said before, I really kind of looked around and was like, okay, I only have 16 images to take. I want to tell a little story. How am I going to tell that story? And so, shooting film, it really forced me to look around at the tree farm and be like, okay, what things do I want to remember from, this little outing? What are the specific things that I want to remember? So I really loved this kind of barn shack thing. I loved the wood piled up. I felt this gave a really good vibe. I think some of the, one of the things that I loved is it says grandpa's something on here. There's this little cutout thing. There's so many personal, this little face right here. So it really made me kind of think about, what things do I want to remember from this trip? And I only have one photo to do it, so it better be good. All right, this was a really great view of the farm. This was kind of when we first got there. It was kind of the house was at top of the hill, and we looked out and we saw this, and I was like, I have got to take this photo. And so I loved this shot. I just love, this is maybe a time for a whole other video, but specifically the Portra 400 film. I just love, these photos don't need to be edited, right? Look at this stuff. The color is so great. There's a little bit of editing you can do if you want to alter them a little. But I typically really love how they come out. All right, so this was a 3-shot, test here. Allie, they gave us these sleds in order to I guess kind of pull. I think they're for actually sledding, but they're also to pull your Christmas tree back to your car. And so I wanted her to go down this hill. So this was the test photo. That was her going down, and there's her halfway down. I just I loved the colors. I love the feeling that film gets. I think a lot of people ask oh, what's the difference? And I think you're going to start to tell as you look through these images. There is a certain type of feeling that you get from film that is just not the same as digital. And the great thing about this is that this is how they came. I don't have to do anything to them. I really love this shot. It's great too. And then Allie at the bottom of the hill. And then our dog Maple, she looks like a crazy psycho right here. But it was a pretty fun shot. And that's the thing too, right? You don't get to see what happened. You just gotta take the shot and hope that you got the exact moment that you were looking for. Here's a couple shots of Allie. I think she was mid-blink there. There it is, better. There's a little bit of this haze. So there's a couple things going on that I didn't like about this. And this is, you know, some of the restrictions that you have while you're shooting film. It was getting quite dark at this point, and this film was not rated for such a little amount of light, and I didn't have a tripod. So I kind of just like went with it. And that's why this in here, it's called film flatness when it's underexposed. Anyways, that's going into the details, but this is a little bit of the, you know, the problem about not having a proper exposure, but I kind of like it. It kind of gives some nice like grain and a little bit of feel to it. I don't know. I thought it was cool. Here's another photo of Allie. It got a little too dark, but like I love what happens when you just have to take a photo in the moment and then you see what happened. Like you see what you got. And that's what makes seeing these photos for the first time so exciting. It's so exciting when you haven't seen them. You know, you shot it a couple weeks ago and you're like, what happened? Like, how did this turn out? So this was really exciting to see how this turned out. I was like, get on the sled again, go down. This was pretty like treacherous and icy. Took a couple more shots. And this is one thing about, you know, when you have these kind of 16 images per roll, it really forces you to think in storyline. You have to think like, oh, okay, so like, you know, this is the person who I was at the farm with. This is a picture of what the farm looks like, how we got to the trees, like what the trees looked like. It makes you think as a whole of like your entire experience, as opposed to just like really not thinking at all and just firing away. And then this is Allie at the top of the hill. At this point, it was getting very dark. The sky was so beautiful at the point, like all of these trees in here, like how magical was this little farm? And at this point, my hands were like completely frozen. But I thought, you know, this little hill, Allie standing here with all the trees in the background that we would later choose from, I thought was a great aspect in kind of telling this little story of us going to the Christmas tree farm. And there's Allie, my wife, and our dog Mabel with like some freaky thing going on with her mouth, but she's pretty cute. So out of these 16 images, you know, so these are kind of the ones that we kind of chose, like 7 images. Like that's almost half of the images that I'm like really kind of happy with, which is pretty incredible and pretty cool that, you know, I took 16 images, I like half of them, and I don't have to sit around and edit them. I've intentionally spent so much of my time creating the photo when I had the camera in my hand, and I'm not sitting at my computer trying to, you know, manipulate it into like being the perfect image. It's a really beautiful workflow that I still love digital, and there's a lot of things I love about it, but there is this workflow of film, and the pace it forces you to go at is really fun. And the last thing I'll say about kind of showing you these images is that is one key thing about shooting film, is that these mistakes or these kind of nuances that happen with film, and when you overexpose, underexpose, all that stuff, these kind of like, they're such good lessons, because there's so much riding on you getting the settings right, or you making decisions like, do I want to take this photo or do I want it to be underexposed? Like, what's the decision I'm going to make? And then you get to see how your decision worked out later on. And they're important decisions, because you can't take endless photos. You can't just like keep shooting. You have to make a decision. And my decisions for some of these were like, I'd rather have this photo than have it perfect, or have, you know, this flatness in here. And so that was okay with me. I hope you enjoyed that little look into what it's like to shoot film. If you have any questions about shooting film, if you shoot and you like have a favorite stock of film, message me in the comments and tell me what you love shooting. If you have any questions about film, I'd love to answer those. But let's talk like film geeks. Raise your hand. If you like this video, I hope you subscribe and like, And if you have any questions or videos you'd like to see, hit me up. Let me know. All right, time to shoot a roll film. Okay, bye.